Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Sutalo,
Aloha, I'm Brian Daniel Edwards.
I'm Rocky S. Chain, Kahuna Pohapu.
and here we are here with another amazing episode of Midnight Meanderings. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Brian has an extra special guest on with us tonight. His name's Rocky. And why don't you introduce him? And if he's willing to start us off with a prayer, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I will let him describe his credentials. He can do it in much better terms than I can. So I'll let him give a little bit of background about himself.
Okay. So I am a Kahuna of the rocks, which I keeper of the knowledge of all the rocks that of the culture of our Hawaiian culture. And one of my subjects I'm going to talk about is about taking the rocks from the island. We'll get to that later, but and um, and why you can and how you can, and if they do and yeah they do and why you shouldn't. But anyway, kind of confusing,
Great.
but yeah. But we'll open with prayer. I'll open with prayer right now, short prayer. E ke akua, ina kamalima, no ke ia ai, no ke ia. Amen.
Amen. And is there a rough English translation for that prayer?
Just give thanks to God that that we receive. Yeah.
Perfect. And for those, I see quite a few people have just joined us. We have a special guest. His name is Rocky. He's a kahuna of the rocks on the island of Hawaii, and he's one or the main person that when people take things that they're not supposed to and mail them back, that you take care of those things that get sent back to Hawaii.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, let us begin wherever you like to begin. We're honored that you're taking time out of your day to be here with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're the special guest.
So
Feel free to share.
with the rocks, it's a lot of the ancient cultures they put spirits to protect their burial, and a lot of it was because the grave robbers would come or the enemies would come. And in our culture, and similar to our culture, a lot of people would steal the bones from the grave to get the power of that person that died. So a lot of these spirits were to protect the burial and the person for the next life. Uh, so they would put spirits to protect these sacred places. However, if you take anything from this land, from this pile of rocks, that you think it's a pile of rocks, but it could be a burial. So, so that's what's going to happen. You're going to have a lot of things happen to you that it's not going to be nice. The idea was not to scare anybody, but to protect the burials and the secret land and the secret places. So a lot of places on the island are either kapu, which is forbidden, and it could be forbidden for many reasons. It could be forbidden because of, say, maybe every 50 years a big flood comes down and washes everybody down this kind. So you should know not to build down there. So this knowledge is very important because it comes from a long time and it takes a lot of time to accumulate it to understand why. So there's a lot of places that are either, how would you say, um, entryways to the next world? What do you call that?
Portals.
Like
Portals.
portals?
Yeah, and they're kapu, and you shouldn't be there because we still don't understand what those part of our or where they are. Yeah, we kind of know what for, but not where they are. So a lot of places have been changed. Yeah, with the new city and the state and everything, and they change everything around. Um, so there's a lot of places like temples that you shouldn't take from, and burials. And so burials are different everywhere. We didn't bury like a cemetery. We buried on our pua, our land. And so, if you were my son and you were a fisherman, I would probably bury you by the ocean or in the ocean. Or if you was a woodsman, I would bury my son up in the forest where he'd like to be. So that's kind of why we had burials different places, and we didn't bury in mass burials unless it was a war and a lot of people died. Yeah, so very few people left to bury the rest of them. So anyway, some are just left out on the field. Some of that places, and there are a couple places, in Kona that are like that. The bones are on the field, and then a lot of them are in caves, and it just depends because every village was buried their dead differently because of the land, because of the way the land. Like if you say if you had dirt and you're in Oahu, they probably bury you in the ground or put dirt on you. But if you're out here in Kona, there's only rocks, so they're gonna probably put rocks over you. Or if they are from a different village, they bury you in the caves, in the lava tubes. Mostly the leaves get put in there, and all the canoes go in there for the next life, kind of like the Egyptians. And then some of the people that takes them in there die in there with that, with all of that. So they're kahunas. So it's not that you can't take rocks off the island. It's you can't take it anywhere. You can't take it down the road. You can't even take it, down here, down the street because it's desecrating and it has spirits to protect that burial. Now, mostly the Lees had these, and they had blessed a lot of different land, uh, where you cannot do this and you cannot use it like that. So a lot of the construction that's done here in Hawaii, if it's on sacred land, actually they shut down everybody. Everybody gets shut down, and they have to remove, the bones and bury it. Give them a burial somewhere else. But sometimes you can't just bless what has been blessed. You know what I mean? So I know in Oahu they had a lot of trouble building the freeway for a long time. But this is a problem that we always run across when people don't understand our culture. Yeah, and so about the more about the burials is that, and the rocks is that all the all the Hawaiian people were villages around each island, and they had rocks they could make and take and make their weapons and make their poi pounders and make whatever they needed. Yeah, and it's kind of like the gathering rights of what they had to do. So did they take it off the island? Well, a lot of the anchors and their weights were stone weights. Yeah, the Hawaiians took rocks off the island. They took it off all the time. They just didn't go taking it from secret places and desecrating it. Yeah, unless it was their enemy they were trying to destroy in their next life. So a lot of it is similar to a lot of the ancient cultures out there. And when you look at our heiau, this is similar to a pyramid. And we go way back too, but probably our ancestors go back even further to Egyptian time, maybe even around then. But where they came from is probably
And
who
I'm
knows.
curious that when people do take rocks off the island and they end up mailing them back, what kind of things does someone who desecrates a sacred site like that, what things pop up that motivate them or bring to their awareness that maybe it's something they shouldn't have done and they rectify it?
Well, they usually send it back with a note. Like I had a shop down in Kona, and I leave my rocks out. I just really don't hope people take anything from me, right? Because boy, I wouldn't. Wish they were my worst enemy. But I had a note come back. It says, "They brought the rock back," and said, "I'm sorry I took that rock at your shop, and bad things been happening to me, and they didn't tell me the name, and they left me some money, and they brought the rock back, and I'm like, oh, you know." But if they send it back, that's basically the cure. Yeah, they send it back. So I just receive them and I give them a new home when they come back home. They're kind of like our ancestors, the rocks. So anyway, we do have a culture where the rocks are like how would you say, like a battery, like it holds energy. Yeah, and you can actually storage energy in the rocks, but it's different kinds of rocks. So I don't, you have to know. It's probably got magnetic powers in it, but I don't know. Anyway, um, so a lot of the rocks were healing. Yeah, none was for war. Yeah, and the heiaus, all the temples we had was mostly for rain. Yeah, and for crops and for fish. We never really did use it for war till later on. And then once we did that, I think we got punished. So I don't know how to explain that one, but anyway,
Speaking of the heiaus, you told me there's very specific ways and who can go to different heiaus. Can you
yeah,
kind of touch in on that?
there's protocol about heiaus. First of all, you gotta go on naked.
Now,
Second
are
of all,
these? Well, can you explain what that is first? Because I'm sure I
you
know
go
I've been on
on.
with Brian a lot of times, but others might not know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna generalize it roughly, because really the knowledge you have to go to school to really learn, it all.
Oh,
But
by the way, the heiaus are the temples.
yeah, the temples.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of the temples were, at some point it turned into, when the Tahitians came and all this stuff, and it turned into more of a war. But before it wasn't for war; it was for bringing rain, for crops, for fishing, for basically food. Yeah. And once it went bad, I think the power got taken away from our people. So, and that's just how I was kind of taught when I was growing up. So I was ordained by a high chief kahuna, high chief of all the islands, and his name was Laniki Lebrant. He was a great kahuna. He was a white kahuna, and he was Hawaiian, but he was white skinned. And I had another kahuna. His name was Dad James. Yeah, he was a very powerful man. He's from the mainland, but um, a lot of the energy was for healing, basically. That's it. Healing the land, healing the morals in people. People have morals. So morals that we use is very important because this is what makes you pono, makes you good. So it's kind of like if you do good morals, you get good karma. You know, if you do bad morals, you're gonna get bad karma. It's pretty simple. Yeah. So you gotta keep it on the good foot. Yeah. So as far as the rocks goes, you have to be pointed to deal with the rocks to be keeper of the rocks. There's a lot of stories about the rocks that like they move on their own. Yeah, rocks rocks can roll, I guess. Rock and roll. No, but uh, but we have stones here that and rocks in our culture that give birth to baby rocks. So that's kind of a science thing that they gotta understand. So there's breath rocks. There's all kinds of rocks when you have breathing problems and you have all kinds of different problems. Yeah, there's fishing rocks and some Hawaiian villages are different. All the villages are basically different and similar to the neighbors on both sides, but kind of as you go around the island, they change it different. And so, and just like the generations that we have, our kids, they all get different. You can't even understand what they're saying sometimes. But so yeah, so the rocks are sacred to us because all things that your eye can see, everything that you look at, came from the rock. Yeah, even this planet probably came from one of those rocks out there in the street. But the rocks are the beginning of our life, of all life. Yeah. So that's why we keep the knowledge of the rocks, and then we have different kind of knowledge, like there's these rocks that we call emo rocks, and they're for cooking. And these rocks have more metal in them for some reason, so you can actually heat them up red hot and stick them in the water, and it won't blow up and crack. And the reason why is because they already been through that process. So when the lava comes down the hill, and it goes down into the ocean, and it keeps flowing under the water, and it goes until it runs out of fuel. And when it does run out of fuel within that lava and it gets all blown out, then it slowly cools. So this is the annealing process and the process of the emo rocks. That why the emo rocks can take all this heat and then take all this water and not blow up. First of all, the rocks have tiny pores in them, and they're basalt, coarse basalt. They come from the Pohoihoi flow. And second of all, they go down into the water. That's when they cool in the water. They get tempered. So all the glass that's in the rock, and there's a lot of glass, that's just going in the water. It's blowing out of this lava and making sand, tiny silica, beads, sand. And once they turn into sand, that's how we have black sand beaches, right? But this glass, once it blows out of the rock, there's a lot more metal in some of the rocks and some of the flows, and like in the older flows in Kohala, there's more metal. So a lot of the metal will get tempered with the water, as it does when you temper metal. And so this rock becomes more of an emu rock where you can heat it up like metal and stick it in water and it won't crack. However, if you have the emu rocks and they're wet and you put it in a fire and it didn't dry, it's going to explode because in the rock is the moisture and it's trapped inside, and the heat's come from the outside now. And now, when the heat comes from the outside, that rock and that moisture, it has some, 20% expansion. It'll blow up that rock, and wood will do the same thing. Yeah, but wood, you might do the same thing. So that's why you have explosions in the rock with the rocks. But it's about picking the right rock. So also there's a process of this rock when it cools, it gets tumbled. So when a rock gets tumbled, it becomes round. So if there's any cracks in this rock, it would probably crack off in the tumbling process, with the waves, and then it would eventually get round. Now this rock is very, very sound. That's what makes this emu rock special. You can heat it up, and it's not going to really break because it's already broken down to its smallest common denominator sometimes. And sometimes it differs from the lava flows. So some are big lava flows, some are small. So they'll crack smaller. Just it's kind of like the cracks in a windshield. When it cracks, it has these smaller squares, and it don't get any smaller than that. Basically, it gets certain size. Well, the lava flows are similar to the windshield. Yeah, depending on the flow, how thick, how hot it was, and how it cooled. And was it raining when it got hot? It could have cooled it and cracked it. Uh, in smaller squares. Anyway, so uh, that's kind of like roundabout for the lava rocks. There's other kinds of lava rocks they use for medicine, but I'm not the knowledge in that medicine department. But just the keeper of the rocks, yeah.
Out of
Um,
curiosity, is there ever, well, so is it, if I understood correctly, it's mainly the sacred sites and things where you can't take rocks. If you just come across a rock on the beach, is that okay for people to take, or is all the stones of Hawaii sacred?
it's best not to just take anywhere unless the Hawaiian people know where you're taking from. So like our state, we have a quarry up here, right? And they quarry a lot of lava rocks, and they send it all over the world. They send it. But they know to bless their land, yeah. But basically, it's good to go to a kahuna and get it blessed before you take it, even if it's from the beach.
Got it. And will the kahunas typically bless rocks for people, or is that something that's not as common?
Not as common unless you're a kahuna poaku like I am. So, because basically they have to understand where they're getting the rock from, and I have to make sure that because they take the rock and they don't know where they took it from, where somewhere, But it's better to let me know before they go and take it, and we go together, and then we go with them, and I just you want to take that one? Okay, it's okay. So I'm stop at burials and secret places and secret lands, and there's a lot of different places, and there's so much that I cannot tell you. until you come here and you ask me,
Well, when I finally make it out there, I'll have to go out with you to find a couple stones that I might be able to add to my mesa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'll bring some stones to offer in return, of course, too,
And
because
so,
we
yeah,
in the tradition that Brian and I practice, there's a concept called Aini, divine reciprocity, and you always have some sort of exchange. So you don't just take
yeah,
from the
yeah, yeah,
land;
yeah. We
you
like
would give
that too.
something
We
back.
always,
Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
we like that. We bring gifts when we go somewhere, and we always bring something. Yeah, and yeah, and then the knowledge is important to have the knowledge. And when you go out on your own, it's okay to opponent. Yeah. So, yeah. What else about the rocks can I help you with?
Well,
Uh,
speaking of the knowledge, I wanted to have you kind of compare some of the similarities to the Tibetan religion, like the Yetin, being able to project and harden your astral body, or even the headdresses you're explaining are the
oh
same as the
yeah, yeah,
Tibetans.
yeah. It could be similar. I'm just not familiar with Tibetans that much,
Oh, okay.
but
Or even the
yeah,
rainbow body, transforming your body into energy and light.
yeah. Well, our my kahuna was the last that were. Now this my kahuna was very powerful, man. I haven't seen nobody walk inside, hot red coals and up to his ankles and walk tall as fire and not get burned. I mean, I know people do it, and but to see it happen, oh my God. So I think it's part of his meditation, and meditation is what we need. Prayer and meditation. But a lot of time meditating is a lot gets answered. A lot of solutions come. When you pray like that. So, what else about the rocks? Yeah, yeah, that's all. That's pretty much in a nutshell. Yeah. However, different villages have different beliefs about the rocks. Just depends where you're from. So
Mhm.
mine is just a general, for everybody because of my kahuna. But everybody's just a little bit different around the island. Some people are more like superstitious. Why? It's not about superstitious. It's about there's a reason and a purpose. Yeah, it's not don't think they're actions because it has a reason. So now you know the reason behind all of this, right?
Mhm.
And that the truth should set you free from wondering.
Out of curiosity, for when, granted, you don't want to take rocks from sacred sites or anything, is there a particular process where you, if you go to a site and like meditate, do you have a process to connect with the stone to ask for its knowledge and things without taking it?
Yeah, you can come here and do that. You can pray, but you cannot go on the hay house because it's we have a federal law. Yeah, and even us our kahunas have a hard time getting on there too. Yeah, but when we go on, we have to take off all our clothes. That's just how we do it. Yeah, but so I some of our elders that had a lot of knowledge passed away already with the hay. And sometimes it's okay that they took that knowledge with them because some of the knowledge are very dangerous. Because when you think that you can move stuff with your mind and make things happen, that can be dangerous if you don't have good morals.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So a
Yeah.
person has to have good morals, like a monk. He has to have monk-like status. He has to be very understanding, kind. Forgiving, and you know what I mean. Patient. There's a lot of morals that you need to use to hold this knowledge. Yeah.
And if I understand some of the culture of kahunas, it's very common that they won't just volunteer information. You got to ask a very specific question for them to give you the knowledge. Is that?
Yeah, we don't just give knowledge out there like that because
Yeah.
you gotta earn it too. Yeah, you have to earn it through your morals. You can't just give anybody morals. Okay, it's kind of like giving them all this knowledge how to build a nuclear bomb. You gotta be careful. But so yeah, usually we like to hang out with the people first and get to know them, you know what I mean? And get to see them and see their morals in the light. And then we can decide, oh, okay, this guy, I think we can pass some knowledge here. Because the knowledge has been passed down from long time ago. And, if you give you the knowledge and you pass it down the wrong way, that's gonna, drop the ball. That's not gonna happen. But basically, some people have to have good morals to have the knowledge. So you know what I mean, huh?
Hmm.
That's something that Rocky has always stressed. He talks about morals, and it's like a pyramid, and one set of morals, you need
Yeah.
one set of morals
So
to
just to
build the
have,
next set.
so like in this pyramid on the bottom, like just say patience. It's kind of on the bottom. It's down here on the bottom, low in the lower bottom. Just to have patience, you have to have accurate knowledge, right? You have to have self-control, right? Yeah, and you have to have compassion, sympathy, empathy, just to apply action. So these morals have to have action, right? It's kind of like prayers; they gotta have action, or else they don't mean nothing. So, uh, so just to have patience, you need all this different kinds of morals: sympathy, empathy, accurate knowledge, self control, self discipline. It takes a lot of, and there's a lot below that to have that. Each one of those have more morals. So morals are what we do to. It's the glue that keeps our families together. Yeah, it's what churches and monks they all exercise and teach. Yeah.
And at the top of it, you said is
And it,
unconditional
on the
love.
top is unconditional love, and nobody really has all the morals. I mean, I think we come to this planet to obtain a lot of these morals because a lot of them we don't use, and we're like clueless about their existence. So, and they're just words, spiritual words that until you put action behind it, it doesn't work. So you have to exercise, practice the morals. So like compassion, go help people,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. It's
Actions are what really define you, right? The words are
right,
just talk.
right, yeah. So yeah, you gotta walk the walk, and if you talk it or just walk it, and uh, yeah. So and it's between you finding yourself in life. A lot of people come here and they want to find themselves, and why everything went bad in the mainland, and in your life is because lack of the good models that's out there that they don't use it. They don't use it, and if you use these models, it's gonna come back. It's kind of like karma. Yeah, you do something nice to somebody, it's gonna come back to you, like it or not. But and you do it for the truth. Like for instance, what is the truth? Like when your mom tell you wash the dishes, your proper answer is yes, mom, wash the dishes. But what you should have done was washed it before mom saw it. See,
Hmm.
so but you tell your mom, I'm not washing it because you tell me. I'm washing the dishes because it's dirty. So you do it for the truth. Yeah, you don't do it for anything else. So doing things for the truth is a good moral to practice. Yeah.
I'm going to have my kids watch this video now just for that part.
Yeah, 'cause, you got to do it for itself. And for men like that, and again, squabbles with their wife, they should wash the dishes before their wife come home. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who's supposed to do the job. It's that you team up and you get it done. You know, it's the truth that you. And then when she leaves you, you're gonna have to wash the dishes all by yourself anyway. So you want to make sure you wash it. Yeah.
Let's see. We have
Something
a
that
couple.
I'm highly interested in, and everybody might like to hear is, can you describe the pre-Tahitian before the Ali'i
I
came?
can't. I really don't know.
Oh, okay, well that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk about Maui Nui, like the big island of Hawaii and the underwater heiaus?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a lot of top secret topics that we can't talk about.
Yeah. Sorry. But
Brian's trying. Yeah, talk about whatever you're able to talk about. And for everybody watching, if you have specific questions, please ask him. He might not answer them, but you can ask him. But we have quite a few people that were tuning in, just giving little emojis with gratitude and little hearts. People saying that they are tuning in late Tammy's just tuning in as well, we will welcome all of you. And we got Rocky on. He is one of the kahunas, or the kahuna, that takes all the rocks that have been sent back to Hawaii from people when they took them when they weren't supposed to. And then crazy things happen and they end up sending them back. He keeps and takes care of those stones to give them a new home once they get sent back to the island. So he has a lot of experience with things like that. But if you have any questions at all, we're happy to ask him and see if he might have some insight around it.
Uh, Monkey King, if you saw his comment, he is another dear spiritual brother, and I'd love to have him come on the show soon. So,
Monkey King?
yeah,
Oh, this gentleman. He actually
yeah,
tuned in really right when we first started, but we were just starting and I didn't want to bring comments up yet. So, um,
yeah. So
Monkey King,
I
if you're
won't
still
go
with
into
us, thank
and
you for
really
joining us.
surprise of who he is or what he knows, but he's got deep knowledge, and I'm excited about having him on soon sometime.
Very cool.
So, have we gotten any comments, questions, anything
No,
like that?
we have some little emojis and people saying, "Oh, here we go." We have a. Angela was asking, "Oh goodness, can you tell a few good stories of returned rocks? If there's any ones in particular
Oh,
that stand
yeah.
out?"
I had a shop, and the rocks were where I carve rocks and I sell rocks in Kona for many years. Yeah, and this was because that to let people know that they can take rocks off and they can take it, especially if they get it from me, a kahuna who gets it blessed and knows where to take it from. However, at my shop, it was an outdoor shop. It's like a honor trust shop where I leave everything outside and all my art is outside. And so someone came a bunch of times. I had like three different incidents. Maybe so I had rocks stolen about three different times. So one rock came back in like a year with a note, with an apology and money. And another one came back maybe in a month or less than a month. And then the third one came back within a week. So and they all came with like letters, and I never knew who they were. And I guess they were afraid. And but two of them left money. The other one just bought the rock back and said, "Hey, I don't want nothing to do with this rock." That was it. So one had a story about, he got sick, his wife got sick, the kids got sick, and they didn't know what it was. And then they figured it out and they sent the rock back. And my heart goes out to them because they didn't know. But I wish I could talk to some of these guys so I could explain to them, you know, why and where you can and where you cannot. Basically, it's where it's not a superstition. It's just a law, basically, of desecration. Yeah. So yeah, I have other stories, but I had lost a lot of the things that I own in the lava flow that went by a couple years ago. I lost everything I had. So in my books, I had a lot of books of letters from people that would send the rocks back. I was working with the post office and taking the rocks from them because it was getting full, and I would take the rocks from. But I haven't done that for a while because of my change in life, and so now I'm just rebuilding from that 2 years ago from losing everything I had in lava, and I'm back out here in Kohala, Hawaii. But I'm gonna start setting up my shop up in Hawaii. So
And
uh,
does your shop have do you do online sales as well, or is it just only local people
well,
in
I think
person?
I'm gonna be doing online sales as well. And I do petroglyphs, a lot of petroglyphs, because the petroglyphs are more of the knowledge. The knowledge is in the petroglyphs. A lot of the petroglyphs, but a lot of it has been destroyed to modern day, freeways and buildings and stuff. And anyway, so but yeah, the petroglyphs have a lot more information of history recorded only for one who can translate it. Yeah. So symbols, my one of my kahunas could translate the symbols, very powerful symbols. And then the pictures are more of historical events and stuff. And so I see that we do have alien visitation here, and I see some of our we have a lot of different Hawaiian gods, and some of them look like aliens, the way the arm and eyes and the small body, like that. So there's a lot of similarity to a lot of things around the world, and we have people, Hawaiian people, kind of like star people that came from stars or whatever tribes, different people, different kind of people, Hawaiian people all over different. Yeah.
Do you know what star people they were?
No, I don't really know
Okay.
in detail.
We have a comment from Ace, and I'm not sure. This may be a little bit of context, just saying shrimping rocks. And I'm going to go out on a limb and ask if there's certain rocks that might help with certain vocations. Like, is there a rock that might have a medicine for helping a fisherman catch fish, or
He's a
like it makes fun
fisherman.
of people?
It was a fisherman rock, but it was the story goes that a fisherman had a rock and he could actually summon the fish to swim to shore. Anyway, that's just story that I. But a lot of these myths are true, just cannot prove right now. Yeah.
The veil is very thin here in Hawaii. The spiritual phenomenon and entities are right in your face.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
whether it's you take a rock and you're not supposed to, and
Or you're
real
somewhere,
time
or you're
consequences
somewhere
happen.
you shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
and they'll I we don't tell everybody we see ghosts because they think you're crazy, but we do, and they are here, and they let themselves known. And I also go and when people have sightings of Hawaiian ghosts, I kind of go over there and see what's going on. And a lot of the reasons why I see they have this problem is because when you buy land in Hawaii, because the burials are everywhere, you can have a burial on your land, an ancient burial. And so it is wise that when you buy this land that you honor those ancestors and the burial. So it's wise to clean it up and put flowers like you would. Yeah. And so when I went to this one call, they had a call in Kohala about these three Hawaiian ladies. And I went around the property and I saw the heiau, the burial, was all overgrown. So I said, here's the problem right here. You need to care for it. Yeah. Clean it up. Like you clean the land, clean it all up. And, put some flowers and honor them. And they never had the problem anymore. So that's kind of what you do. It could be other reasons. I don't know. Just depends on where you live.
can you talk about the night marchers? That's a
Nah.
huge.
Well, they don't, like I say, I don't really exist, just so you know. And they don't exist. And I think they want to keep it like that. You want to just keep it, they want to keep it like a myth, I think. Yeah. And the reason why is because you have to have a purpose, a function to understand, to have it, to know it, to even, about it, because they have a function.
What about respecting the waterways, especially sacred
Well,
waterways, and
all
the
the,
and where people drowned, oftentimes are found drowned. The mo'o protect these places.
well, a lot of these places are kapu. They're the kapu places. And the reason why they're kapu, because a lot of people die there. And for some reason, the undertow takes them into the cave and busts them all up. And then, that. Or it's not good like on this side because there's a lot of sharks. Unless you grew up in that water with that, when you're little, you have more of a family now with them. Like they see you all the time. They consider you family, kind of. But you still can be food, though. Yeah. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of places around the island that are on around the whole island that can be dangerous. Uh, on the Hamakua side, it's really, really rough and dangerous, and because that's where all the current hits the islands, and there's a lot of sharks out there, and it's deep water and treacherous, and undertow is strong. On the other side of the island, looks really calm, but the undertow is strong too. Yeah. So our island has water inside the island, and just think about an island that's built upon lava tubes and lava tubes and lava tubes, all the way up to to where we are now. So these lava tubes are filled with water, and sometimes they cave in, sometimes they suck water in, and you might find a lot of lava tubes here, but you shouldn't go in them. Yeah, and because they booby trap sometimes for burials, and they have booby traps in there, and a lot of people get missing on the island sometimes because either drown out in the water, or they get swept out really quick. Yeah, or they get sucked into a lava tube swimming. So you gotta. It's good to go with a partner. Yeah, and it's good to have some knowledge of the island where you go from a Hawaiian person that knows around that area. It'll help. Yeah.
There are spiritual landmines, I call it. There's if you cross Kapu areas or you go into areas like burial sites to protect the burial sites to protect their land, there are real consequences. So you
Sounds like
really,
your experience. Just coming from experience speaking.
Brian,
yeah.
what'd
So
you do?
the,
What'd you do?
which time? Well, I mean, one unique experience. Can you talk about the mermaids? I was in Milili'i, and
They exist, but I can't talk too much about them.
okay,
I mean, they exist. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. Um, yeah. As far as the knowledge that I cannot.
I encountered them one time, and I had no idea what was going on at the time. I was snorkeling after a pod of dolphins. I saw the dolphins, threw my snorkel gear on, and I start making a beeline out into this little bay in Milili'i. And I grew up before I could even walk in my family. We were snorkeling. So I've been in lots of ocean conditions. I've been scuba diving. I actually commercially dove for a while, uh, but I was swimming and it something was yanking on my fin, and then I had this like weird energy on me after that. And then I ran into um, people that could see and feel and fill me in on what was going on, and like I had actually encountered a mermaid while I was swimming out there. And then I found out later that there is a heiau to honor the mermaids in that area.
Very cool. Awesome. If you're
Okay,
just joining
okay.
us or still with us, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask them or make them, and we can definitely incorporate them. It's cool to have another face on the show and someone that has so much knowledge, even though you can't talk about it.
Yeah. So basically, what I would talk about is, the spirit of aloha. It really has to do about morals. Like when you come here, we greet you, we aloha you. And this is what people are attracted to. But sometimes it's the last thing they uphold when they come here. Now, I gotta just say, when you come here, you gotta leave your baggage behind, yeah, and put on your good boy pants, your morals, yeah, because you're gonna get far with morals. You go anywhere with good morals, yeah. And that is the key to Hawaii is in the aloha spirit. It's about being kind, receiving people, and we just like to treat people like family, and all we want them is to act like family. That's all. And they act like family. It must be family. And so, friends are like family, and it's about healing here in Hawaii. And right where I'm at now is actually an ancient women's. It's like a women's sanctuary here. It's for women to heal. Back in the olden days, they had like if you had birth problems, we have a birthstone down by the ocean. This one lady bought the property down there. Her name is Carmen. But she has a few of these stones on her property. She didn't really understand what those stones are about, but I'm yet to see her and talk to her about it yet. Yeah.
When you say the island is about healing, I know there's a modality I'm familiar with called Lomi Lomi, which means, I believe, roughly translated Hawaiian hand sealing. Is there anything you could tell us about that? Is that something you might be trained in or know about?
I know a little bit, but it was just passed down from family. Yeah. But there's kahunas out here that teach specifically those arts. Yeah. And Lomi Lomi comes with medicine as well, lapao. So lapao is the medicine part, and Lomi Lomi is the massage healing, yeah, the hands-on.
Hmm.
And that is really big here. Yeah. So in Kohala here, There's not very few masters left. Most of them passed away. Uh, Tommy Solomon was one of the greatest out here where we are now. And there were some around the island like Pea, Mr. Pea from Waimea. And there was some ladies out in Kau side. But there's very few, and they're all generation is passing away. Yeah, and they have many students. So there's a lot of students, even from the mainland, that have come here and seek the knowledge.
And there, when a kahuna passes away, do they have like an apprentice or someone that, when they pass, that kind of step up and start teaching or holding that same space that they were holding?
They would like to, and that's kind of the idea, but not necessarily. It happens all the time. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's sad to say that some of the knowledge, you know, it's been lost. So so in our teachings, we teach our students in the beginning everything we know, and we teach them the best that we have, so that their basic would be our best, you know. And in their lifetime, they'll step up and polish that training and all that stuff up and pass it to the next person. So it's good to pass the knowledge to somebody who's not going to drop the ball on you, on the knowledge, because that's a lot of knowledge to just let go by the ways. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a question, but Angela was just saying that she loves listening and learning any and everything she can from all elders. So she's just enjoying everything that you're contributing to
Oh,
our
cool.
topic tonight. Cool. Well, what
Well,
else?
we just
And
we got I'm a chef as well, so I learned to cook and stuff. So we got a lot of stuff on that too. We can show
oh,
you.
okay, the plants. What are the one of the big things that Hank and I have studied are the sacred plants and their medicine and journey plants. What can you tell us about kava or some of the sacred plants that the
Kava
Hawaiians use?
kava is when you practice with meditation and prayer. Yeah. So it's kind of like sage. And uh, what's the other cultures that practice it? Kava is just for when you look at it, it makes you relax and it makes you so you can meditate basically. Yeah, put you in a good state of meditation. A lot of people drink it as recreational, but I just drink it for a purpose. When you need to numb your mouth because you have toothache. Yeah, you can chew on some kava. But we never drank it the way people drink it now today. They drink it like it's a bar, like
So is it like is it an analgesic like coca? Is what did you say? Is it kava or
you take it when you need it. You don't just like
It's similar. It's not quite as numbing as coca is,
yeah.
but it will kind of numb your mouth,
It's
relax your
there's
throat.
different. There's no one kind of kava plant, so there's different kinds of varieties, and some are stronger and some are you know less.
do you have in the southern tradition that I practice, it's you do a little ceremony with three leaves, usually coca leaves, where you use it to introduce yourself to all the nature spirits around you. Is there a similar ceremony or way you
Tea
connect?
leaf, tea leaf is the ceremony leaf that we use. The tea leaf.
Okay.
Uh,
Are there any around?
no, my tea leaf is
They're everywhere in
not.
Hawaii.
Yeah, we got
Except for
one
where you're
kind
at.
of
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I'll grab one.
You know where the branches are all around?
Yeah.
Okay, go. He's gonna
Okay.
come back.
Yeah, you guys keep talking.
Yeah, so the tea leaf, um, the tea plant, okay, it's a tea leaf. It's not like the kind of tea you drink, but it's more of a spice. So we use the tea leaf more like a spice. So when we cook, we'll wrap our food in the tea leaf, right? And then we'll like cook it in the tea leaf, and that will give it flavor. So that's part of our cooking herb. Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, the tea leaf is high in sugar in the roots and the stalk, and you can actually make alcohol with sugar. You can Google that.
Yep.
So, and coconut is good too. Coconut is good medicine. Coconut is really, really good. And think what we used to do was used to cut the stem of the coconut, the flower stem, and you cut it, and it has a sap, and that sap you reduce it down in water, and then it's gonna kind of go to the top, and then you separate it, and then it crystallizes, and you get coconut sugar. So it's a process for sure. Coconut sugar is very, very healthy for you. Um, um, and what else? The tea leaf and the banana leaf. So the banana leaf is another um, medicinal plant we use. And when I had strep throat, my kahuna would make me go to the banana tree. And I wouldn't say try this to anybody, but it works. And I got a knife and I stuck it in the tree at an angle, and the sap would drip down the knife and fall into a spoon, which I would have to drink. And I tell you, I don't know if anybody ever drank sap from a coconut tree. It doesn't go down your throat. It takes a long time to crawl down there. But man, I used to heal before. When I used to see the sap, I used to heal already. Like, Grandma, I'm good, man. No drink the thing. Anyway, I had to take my medicine. That was one of and
There's
here,
only a small.
yeah, I okay. Here's a small baby tea leaf, and this is the plant that uh, we make a drink out of. Actually, a drink that you can get drunk, an alcoholic drink, like you call it okolehau, and it's made with the tea leaf, the root stock. So also we use this for blessings. We want to bless places. It's usually done with Hawaiian salt and water. And the other kahunas would bless, depending what kind of kahuna they were, they would bless certain places and stuff. And there's certain places where even they won't bless because you can't bless it because it's already been blessed and it's already designated for other things. It's been there for a long time. You can't change that. Yeah. So like portals like that, you don't want to build people over there. Anyway, so here it is, TV. So banana leaf is another spice that we use to cook. So the sap is medicinal and the flower is medicinal. Yeah.
Hmm,
So we have bananas here. You know what bananas are, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I will have to send you some tea plants. All you do is cut the stem, and they sprout roots and start growing. So I'll send you a bunch. And
Very durable. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get you to send me a care package with a whole bunch of stuff. Actually, we keep
Yeah.
talking about it, and then we never get around to doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Wish I had more cardboard that I could show
Let's
you.
see. I think we
I
got another
actually,
comment.
I actually have a gallery in Haloaloa, and it's called Hawaii Treasure Mail, and that's where I sell all my carved rocks. I'm a sculptor, actually, and I carve rocks and all kinds of rock, big rocks. And anyway, I sell it in a gallery called Hawaii Treasure Mail in Haloaloa, in Kona on the Big Island.
And speaking of all your artwork and things, when you do get your website or whatnot, we can put a link to it in the video here. Or if you ever come on again, which I hope you do, you
Yeah,
can. We can hopefully see some of your work, and if people want to connect with you to get it, uh, we could hopefully
actually,
help with that. And
you
a
know,
couple of questions for you, Brian. Brian Daniel Edwards, you're in Hawaii now? Question mark! Exclamation point! When did you leave Australia? About a year ago, he left.
yeah, actually, almost a full year ago.
Yeah, so he's
yeah,
in Hawaii now.
Okay, well, we can post pictures of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We'll
attach
post
them.
you. We'll post you some. We have rocks here that I carved that I could have shown you, but it's kind of on part of the property here, on the other side of the property. But we'll put it and post it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
we'll go to my gallery and I'll do a walk in at the gallery and you can.
that would be great. And or if we have pictures of your stuff when you come on, I can have them uploaded, and then we can just share them over top of the screen, and people can see it while we talk too. And you can
Okay.
explain things and like
Okay.
that. We'll just have to be a little more prepared for that.
Yeah, yeah. It's all good.
So I did not know that about the drink made out of the tea plant, the
Oh
roots.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. We can Google that too now.
What
Yeah.
about Hawaiian baby wood rose? Was that used traditionally?
I'm not sure about that. I don't think it was a Hawaiian plant,
Oh, okay.
or maybe it was. I'm not sure.
I know that one contains
Yeah.
LSA. No, it's same thing as the yeah, LSA.
A
Morning
lot of
glories. Same thing
Yeah,
as morning
same thing
glories.
as the morning glory.
a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of Hawaiians died with knowledge because when they got sick from the disease, when the disease got here, when they first got here, technical, they wasn't ready for storaging knowledge. They didn't know they were gonna die that quick, and a lot of knowledge would pass to mouth. So you wouldn't pass the knowledge to anybody in a book. You would have to They would have to earn the knowledge, and they would have to actually exercise it to really know it. Yeah. So with experience, and the knowledge, it's kind of like we teach our kids to build a house, you know, and now they have a choice. They could either buy one or build one. If they didn't have money, at least they could build one. You know what I mean? So the knowledge was important, but uh, yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Trying to get a light going so we got can see us a little better. Okay, there we go.
And just to clarify, he doesn't have a website now, does he? Because Angela was saying she would love to have a website, but you don't have one yet. Is
I
that
don't
right?
have one, but I think my gallery might have one. But I gotta go check because
Okay.
I've been out of touch because of my I'm
Yeah.
trying to build back up my life after
But,
losing everything for a
but
while.
Angela, there is a link for the gallery, we will definitely get that posted. Or the next time he's on, we
Yeah.
will have pictures ready to go so we can show people some of the things. And if you want to buy something, I'm sure. Do you have PayPal? Like, if just thinking in the
I
future.
think she does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we can make that happen, or allow that be an allowance of that happening on a future stream if we're able to have you on again.
Uh-huh.
Cool. Last call for quite well, because we're coming up on an hour. But I mean, we can. I want to give people a chance if there's any other questions. We already have a couple people here because here it's midnight. Tammy was saying, "I have to go to bed. I'll finish watching tomorrow." Good night, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And Lindsay was saying she was coming in late to the party with not realizing you were in Hawaii. Cool. But
So
yeah,
there's one more thing that I'm doing that's going to be real interesting. Um, in my culture, with the rocks, I'm trying to take it to the next level. So here it is. I'm going to start fire glazing the rocks with glaze, pottery glaze.
that's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's different. Nobody's done it yet, but yeah, I don't own the knowledge, but it's out there, and I'm just gonna put this with that together, put it together, and see what happens. But that's something you can look forward to checking out later.
Absolutely. You have a lot to offer. It's good to have you on. I've enjoyed everything so
Thank
far.
you. And you're welcome. You're welcome.
It just hasn't happened, but Rocky's been in my life pretty much the whole time I've been in Hawaii. The first month I spent on the other side of the island in Puna, but then I came over to Hawaii and spent a good deal of my Hawaiian adventure here and got to be really great friends and brothers with Rocky.
Now I have to ask this question though, because Brian is a very unique individual. So Rocky, I'm very curious, when you first met Brian, what did you make of him?
Well, I if you can take away the outside and in the inside of him, I found that he got good morals. So got good
There
energy. So I could trust him and welcome him into my culture as well. So he's actually part of my family now. Yeah, and
Beautiful.
yeah. So try to give him as much knowledge as he can digest, but that's the kind of not what he asks, but what he needs.
he
Yeah,
need- he needs somebody like that in his life. I'm glad it's you.
Yeah,
I get a lot of I can't answer that question.
yeah.
So there's a lot of top secret here, top secret knowledge here in Hawaii, and I try and push the envelope of what is revealed, and some of what I have received I cannot share. And as I've said in shows in the past, like I can't. There's so much I wish I could share, but I can't yet. And
Yeah.
So sometimes the knowledge is not for us because we're either not ready or it's not appropriate yet. But when the situation comes, it will be appropriate. The knowledge will be there.
Absolutely. A lot of times, you don't need the knowledge just for knowledge's sake. You need the knowledge when there's a moment to apply it, and that's when teachers will
Yeah,
be there to have to
yeah.
bestow it or
When the
whatnot.
student's ready, the teacher will be there.
In shamanism, the tradition we practice, they say that the undomesticated power of the universe, it just wants to be used. It doesn't care how it's used, and sometimes that knowledge applied in not the best way without morals can have consequences that are not preferred for us.
and sometimes, and sometimes it can be solved. Like sometimes people seek the knowledge for wrong reasons,
Mhm.
but yet they get educated because of that, and then start using it for the right reasons. But they wasn't looking for that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, oh, oh,
Just
sorry.
like Tupai in the Peruvian tradition, or like spiritual sparring.
Mhm.
I've heard stories of that here, and it being used for less than benevolent purposes. And I've heard of people being able to basically, like in the Australian Aboriginal tradition, point the bone and kill people. So these kahunas would get in fights. You have a white hat and a dark hat, and um, the, people physically die from this.
Yeah.
And so it's
And
powerful.
Angela has something that she was bringing up, that she honestly believes knowledge should be shared and passed along to help all. And I agree with that for the most part. There are some things that are
Things get
okay to
shifted.
share, but with an online forum where anybody could be watching too, like there are some knowledges that could be used for maybe not the best of reasons. In fact, like a sinking of Atlantis was blamed on a misuse of knowledge in the wrong hands. At least one theory behind the sinking of Atlantis. So, I think every
We're going
situation is
to a
unique.
shift.
You got to do with what feels like. Hmm?
Yeah, and that's how I kind of feel about the Hawaiian people when they use the Kohona system the wrong way and they use it for killing and it was more for bringing life. Yeah. So if you do the wrong thing with the knowledge, that sometimes it cannot be fixed. Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't mean it can't be better later on, but sometimes things break and you can't fix it the way you want it. But
So, a question I had, you're talking about now, without having to out anybody who's still alive, you're talking about your kahuna could walk through uh, cinders or embers up to his knees. What
ankles.
other, oh, ankles, okay. Uh,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure he
know.
doesn't
It'll
what
need to.
other,
probably be the same thing. I don't know, but
uh,
when you see the ankles disappearing, you're gonna like,
so
okay.
what other abilities have kahunas had historically?
Well,
What,
historically they could travel, astral travel. They would go over to the enemies and go listen to what the plan is and come back. Astral travelers go out of your
yeah.
body through meditation or in your sleep or whatever. They had that kind of power. They had all kinds of powers. I can't really say exactly all the different kinds they had, but there were a lot, and they had a big menu. They've been doing it for a long time.
Working with the nature spirits to enhance the weather for optimal conditions?
For rain, mostly for rain. Yeah, not everywhere on the island you have rain, as you can see, but
Yeah.
basically the rivers. We had a lot of rivers, and we had a lot of forests, and the forests and the rivers would actually feed beginning of the food chain in the ocean. So if the rivers ever stop, which is my kahuna told me, don't ever let the river stop, man. I tried. I can't help, man. I can't control that.
Yeah.
But once the beginning of the food chain in the ocean breaks down, it's gonna affect us eventually. So with us, we had a big a harbor out here called Kauai High. It was the biggest fish hatchery of coral reefs that would house a lot of baby fishes, which would actually give a lot of fish to this whole side of the island. There were so many fish when I was young in the 60s. It was kind of like diving into a park, or the sea life park where the sea life park is. You know, sea life park is, huh? Where you go and you see the dolphins and all the fish in the
Yeah,
tank.
like
And there's so
SeaWorld
much fish
or
in the tank.
aquariums.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how it was. There was so much fish that when I went with my dad, he went down and he would just disappear into this massive school of fish, and they would just all clump. And I'm like, "Where's my dad go?" And like, that's how much fish there were. There was so much fish. I mean, they were in your face. And now, when you look at it, they dug a harbor out for the shipping company, and and it made a huge island out of this coral, and that's where all our reefs went. And now that when you look in the ocean, it's depleted at least 80% of our fish. Isn't that sad?
That
Yeah.
is pretty desolate. What
And
about the diversion of the Waikoloa River for Parker Ranch? How did that impact?
like I say, any river that goes into the ocean is important, and it's important that people live down the river that do culture from the river. If it's growing kalo, taro, or whatever root crops, or growing fishery. Um, a lot of it has been destroyed, and all the rich hotels and golf carts have taken the water and using it for their own, you know, um, uh, what you say, to make money, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh,
uh,
there's Waikoloa. Well, on this side of the island, on the west side, north of Kona, up into Hawaii, it's pretty much a desert. As you go north, more towards Hawaii, you start to get a little bit more vegetation. But going south of, uh, let's say, Kapa'a or maybe Kauai High, it just turns into bare desert. But from what I've heard, where Waikoloa is, there was a river that came down, and it was not a desert at one point in time. Did you
yeah.
see it before it was?
Well, the river was only there because of the trees that we had before. We had like tree canopies, like one or two tree canopies of trees. And once the cattle guys got here, when Kamehameha, when he first got cattle, he started to lash and burn, and the Portuguese brought cattle, and the Mexican, they brought the culture, yeah, and it got melted into our culture, which we call like Hawaiian cowboys, paniolas, yeah. So we learned a lot of knowledge from these cultures, but also we took a lot of blow in our environment, by the deforestation and a lot of neglect on the land, not taking care of the land. So when you look at all these, we have rivers, and you see how big these rivers are and deep they were, and we have like canyons carved out by water, because we had a lot of forests, and the forest brought a lot of rain, and with that lot of rain, it carved out a lot of rivers, but now there's no more too much rivers, and they only flow when it rains hard up in the mountains, because the tree line has receded almost up to the top of the mountain already. So the idea was to reforest the island, but it's kind of hard to forest without water because the tree line is too small now. But my kahuna said that we have to, and nobody's gonna ever listen to me, kahuna, because I don't really exist. But anyway, that you cannot just plant the trees out there in the desert; they're gonna die. You need to plant it next to the tree line, and build from the tree line down by planting next to the tree line, planting next, and then the water will water. The rain line will water that because it's rain line right there where the tree line is, and that will water the new tree that you plant in. So you cannot plant water. You cannot plant trees all down like in the desert and think that you're gonna water it. You're not gonna reforest anything in our time. It's gonna be a long time before that happens. But the way to do it is to the tree line where it's receding, it needs to come back down. So once this tree line comes down, and it used to go all the way from the mountain to the sea, so we had trees all the way down to the ocean. Maybe at the ocean had maybe one or two canopies, but more up in the mountains we had three different canopies. But these are all different kinds of trees. Some are bigger. They come up in generations and stuff like that. So that was important, and so those are the important things that we need to try to protest to keep alive, like the Mauna Kea thing. You know, um, they don't even look at trying to reforest up there at all, and they don't know how to. And all they want to do is build telescopes, and that's fine. I mean, I'm okay with telescopes, but uh, some of my Hawaiian kahunas down here don't like that they're building on secret mountain. which I think it's sacred. It's only sacred if you abuse it. That's not right. You know, you have to take care of that mountain because once you deforest it and the dirt, and the wind blows all the dirt, topsoil, nothing will grow. Nothing will grow on it, and it's going to be hard to regrow it up there because the trees is what makes soil. Yeah.
The agriculture really has done a number on the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah, and
Uh,
monocropping, and all this these Monsanto's. You know, he came here a long time ago, and you know he wove this out in with the farmers as the guy that he probably brought the disease and the cure with him. You know what I mean? And like, look, I got the cure for this. Yeah, you brought the disease as well. So anyway, but a lot of farmers bought into him, and so we have Roundup spraying all the time around here. It's so bad. I mean, just stuff that's not good for you. And but we're still trying to fight all that kind of people, and that's part of the state that we're fighting. Yeah.
when the Ali'i or the Tahitians came here, the legend is that they could actually smell Hawaii and they followed the scent of the sandalwoods on the island. And even in Captain Cook's logs, when the ship logs, they could smell the island long before they came. And unfortunately, now the sandal was almost extinct.
But lucky for us here, we're actually farming sandalwood here on this farm, and we have a bunch of sandalwood trees that I take care of.
Yeah.
And there are trees that have to grow along with. They do good with a pine. They're a leech tree, and they leach upon another tree's roots, and that's how they really grow. But in the beginning stages, they're little seedlings we grow, and then we kind of put them to a big tree, a tree that can grow up a healthy tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sandalwood
we're trying to
trees
bring
get,
that back.
get sandalwood trees oftentimes get poached, and or they just rip them down, and it's considered a sacred wood, and they used to build temples
Yeah.
out of sandalwood. But one of the reasons they did that is because sandalwood's a natural insect repellent, and people could worship in peace. But then the point of view was that it was super holy, and people sought it to poach it and whatnot. And it is a very sacred tree, but
And
made
so
more so for other
we
reasons.
have a lot of that growing here, but we'll take some pictures and we'll post it.
Yep,
And
sounds
yeah, they're really beautiful plants. And they're pretty they're pretty flimsy. They can't really stand up good on their own. Sometimes they're really kind of prone to falling down. But once they get going, they get rooted and they get bigger. But the sandalwood, of course, there's more than one varieties of any species. And but when you start to lose it all, we want to gain back the different types of because in each sandalwood seed there's DNA of different strains. Yeah, it goes way back. That need to farm it by seed to bring it out that way. So we're gonna get it out. So acidity is a lot of acid. So like underneath the pine trees with the pine needles, it's really acidic. Most plants can't live underneath the pine trees, but that sandalwood it does just fine in the forest and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What about, is there a difference between koa and Formosa koa? I know
Oh
Formosa
yeah.
koa is an acacia, which actually has DMT in it.
Yeah,
Um,
there's like I said, there's all kinds of cores, and if you dive into that, it's just a different university of stuff
good.
of information. But yeah, there's no one kind of core, and there's all kind, and I can only think, from shrub to tree and elevation. We had a diverse, we had a lot of stuff from 28 different climates. You know what I mean? We had it all. We grew it all before, and a lot of plants are gone that are missing. Not to say that they're gone completely. The seeds could still be in the ground, germinating, hibernating, and it could one day hatch, maybe.
and there's a lot of untouchable places when you start going into uh, deep beyond YPO or Pololu as you go in towards the center valleys. It's only accessible by boat, some of these valleys.
Yeah, and some islands are like that, like Molokai and Maui. So it's good that humans are not touched untouched because it preserves it more. When the humans get in there, it just destroys things. If they don't have good morals about the land, So the idea is just to learn first the knowledge, yeah, and then exercise it properly. Yeah.
Now, I heard interesting stories on Kauai about what was in these valleys. People had talked about a thunderbird like creature and also like dinosaur like birds they described. It almost sounds like a giant moa and a hast eagle. Do you know anything about that? Like what was in New Zealand before the Maori came?
Well, I don't think I can go that far, but but I can only assume that this island was here or growing. When this island came up, it was probably tiny little islands. Like all these mountains were little tiny islands before they joined together and became one island. So in that time, yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we don't know. Like for instance, underneath our island, underneath underneath the ocean, on the ocean level to the bottom of the seafloor, our island is still built on lava tubes. So lava tubes that inhabit life. And a lot of the life that lives in these lava tubes way deep down are white because of no sunlight. And not only that, they're trapped in the lava tube, so their life in the under the island stays under the island. And that's where I don't want to say mermaids, but yeah, that's where they could have came from.
Ah,
But a lot of them, like I've seen a lot of lava tubes because I'm a rock kahuna and I have to go into the tube to study some of the rocks and I see like white fish, all different kinds of like fish that we have, but they're white, like uhu and whatever we see out here. Sometimes I see them they're in white and turtles, white, all white turtles, sea turtles. They don't look like our turtles, but they're a little bit different. Yeah. So I think that they eat different kinds of food, like maybe, and they move around more in the dark, so they kind of illuminate maybe. And so, however, we have not gone down to study those animals yet, but it's something for the future to find out. Yeah.
speaking of like sea life, what about cephalopods? Like giant octopus, giant squid. I've heard a lot of
Oh, they're
stories.
they're big. I mean, you can get killed by one. That's how big they are. I mean, they can tangle you up, choke you up, and take you down. Yeah. And a lot of people have been, hurt by, because they got that parrot kind of mouth, and they'll grab you and they'll eat you. Yeah. But my dad was a diver, and he used to fish a lot of that squid, and boy, they taste good. Anyway.
No, but Brian, we've been going about an hour and 17 minutes. We really ought to wrap up because it is late for me.
Okay, yep.
But,
Yeah, we
but absolutely, Rocky, if you're willing to come on again, especially if we can show some of your art and the picture, I think I'm saying it wrong, pictographs type of things that you
Petroglyph, yeah.
have. Picture glyph. I almost had it. Would love to have an episode kind of dedicated to showcasing some of that and maybe some of the stories, whatever you're able to tell us about them that
Okay.
are on them.
Sure.
Cool.
so,
All
okay.
right.
Okay.
Would you like to lead us in a closing prayer?
Yeah, I'll let you. You go.
Okay. Well, we kind of want to hear the Hawaiian.
Yeah.
They get to hear me every week.
um, let's see. Ike Koa, thank you so much for all that you have given us. Thank you for everything that you have uh, shared with us and knowledge. And thank you for my brother here, that he's been here and passing the knowledge to him. Yeah. And we have more knowledge to pass yet. Ike Koa na kamalima. Okay, okay, um, okay.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody joining us. If you're going to go back and watch the beginning, if you didn't catch it all, please share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. There is a link in the comments that definitely helps us out to spread the videos, reach a little bit more when people watch it there, like and comment. And we will catch you next week. Bye, everyone.
Aloha.
Bye.